back with a little football eye candy for you. Commanders, Patriots, and this is from yesterday. There's Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. They took the same number of snaps in yesterday's preseason game between the Bears and Dolphins. But Tua Tagovailoa did play yesterday, Dan, and there he is with a red zone completion.
Yeah, I thought Tua looked sharp. I like the fact that they got out there. I don't like the fact that they got stuffed, I think, on 3 consecutive runs down in that go-to-go situation. I love that Mike McDaniel went for it, but this is the problem with this football team, and they still haven't solved it.
On the other side, Tyson Bagent playing quarterback for the Bears. This is a 4th and goal.
Yeah, great throw. Up high. We talk about it all the time down in the red zone. You want that up high, back of the end zone, almost underneath the crossbar. Awesome play by Bagent.
Game would end in a tie. Here was Ben Johnson after on not playing Caleb Williams.
There is no substitute for real live bullets. I get that. But at the same time, when you can accumulate 70-plus reps in a day, that's pretty good. That goes a long way in terms of where you want to go with the connection with the quarterback and his pass catchers. You know, we'll see what next week has in mind in terms of how much we want to play guys and all that. But, you know, we'll assess that with the staff going forward.
What did you think of this decision, Mike T?
I don't like it. I like Ben Johnson a lot, work with him. I think he's going to be a really good head coach. This makes no sense to me. And the juxtaposition of Tua, who's had massive durability issues, to play in the same game. Again, just a reminder, Caleb Williams had 8 snaps in college under center. Detroit led the league in plays under center. There's so much of a learning curve. Get him out there for a series or two, move the pocket, run the ball. I was really surprised of all the quarterbacks that he didn't play.
Initially, I was like, this is ridiculous. The offensive line didn't play. The starting offensive line didn't play. So if the starting offensive line's not playing, the starting quarterback should not play.
Right. But if he plays, then you play the starting offensive.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. They just did the joint practicing this past week with the Dolphins.
That's the whole thing.
And the wear and tear, those guys are banging all the time, pad on pad. Like, I just think if you're not going to play those Joe Tooney, some of those veteran offensive linemen, if they're not going to play, don't put the quarterback
And
out
Mike,
there.
you know this. If they're going to be in those controlled scrimmages during the week, they're able to simulate what they want to get done with Caleb Williams in that setting without really any real risk like a game.
Don't get me wrong. I wanted the reps.
Yeah, of course.
I said in our group text, I said, Caleb not getting reps?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Is it more important for Caleb to get reps or your offensive lineman to get some rest when they have the opportunity to get some rest?
But again, you can do both. I've been with countless coaches that could put out, look, Patrick Mahomes was out there. Now, look, he threw one pass. My point is, just greedy, the hearing Ben Johnson and the coach to communicate, there's so many things you have to get acclimated to. You could take those reps in the scrimmage and then play in a game, and you could do it in a way that even if Joe Tooney doesn't play, you can minimize the risk of injury, which obviously is paramount. I don't mean to minimize it, but this guy needs as many reps as possible.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just telling you, if they put him out there without the starting offensive line, that would have been a bigger issue than not putting him out there at all.
And you're also in a preseason where we're starting to hear more and more quarterbacks lobby, as they usually do, to play. We saw Joe Burrow play in the preseason this weekend. We saw Tua Tagovailoa play in the preseason this weekend. We're seeing more and more quarterbacks get out there, even for brief periods of time, because I think these quarterbacks are tired of coming out a little rusty. Their team's starting slow. They want to just shake off some of that rust in the preseason.
And to that point, and a lot of football fans, and even myself perhaps, not sophisticated enough to understand it, but I was reading a lot of people suggesting that defenses aren't playing as vanilla in the preseason anymore either, right? They're doing all this stuff. So isn't there something to the young quarterback seeing? It used to be in the old days, the defenses wouldn't give you anything. They're just basically lined up and playing vanilla, so maybe you get less out of that. But you've shown us tape this morning where corners are faking this and they're falling back out of that. That's beneficial too, and that's stuff you may not get in one of these controlled scrimmages.
I would have preferred Caleb Williams to play. But if the offensive line is not going to be out there, that starting group, then do not put the starting quarterback out there.
Let's talk about a different starting quarterback in the NFC, a team with very high expectations. The Rams have a huge question mark with their longtime superstar quarterback, Matthew Stafford, and his back. Schfter, what can you tell us?
Listen, there's natural concern because he's 37. You're talking about a disc injury in his back. But the Rams have operated under the assumption that they would have him ready for opening day against the Houston Texans, and it was more important to target September than August. And they've intentionally taken it easy with him this summer. On Saturday, he threw 68 passes, made all the throws, and now they're going to start working him into practice with the idea that the regular season is now just over 3 weeks away, and they know that their veteran quarterback is going to be ready. Of course, you're going to be concerned when it's a veteran and it's a back and there have been some issues. But they feel like he will be out there on opening day. You could take that to the bank. No questions asked, and they feel pretty good about where he's at right now.
It's definitely a concern for me. You're 37. Yeah, I know, Dan, you're not, but I am. Because when you're 37 and you have to go through the rigors of 17 games of getting hit, typically your back doesn't get better. And there's a massive drop-off from Matt Stafford to Jimmy Garoppolo. And hopefully Alaric Jackson's going to be okay, a very good left tackle. He's dealing with blood clots. Again, I'm not a doctor, and hopefully it's not a big deal, but...
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get your group shot, actually.
But the bottom line of it is, it's a concern. Whether he's ready to start the season or not is one thing.
Right.
Whether he can hold up over the course of an entire season,
that's a question for every player out
Right.
there.
And the other thing, Matt Stafford's a really good player. Not a Hall of Famer, but a good player.
Hall of Famer.
No, he's
Hall
not.
of Famer lock.
No.
Let's not get sidetracked by that.
Okay.
He's a 37-year-old quarterback with a back problem.
And Devontae Adams is new to the offense. And look, they're both really good players. But if we were running the Rams, the four of us, we would like to see the starting quarterback work with the new receiver to get some continuity.
Let me get Danny in. You're not concerned about his back?
I am not concerned. I think this organization is one of the, if not the best run organizations in football, up there with the Philadelphia Eagles. If they have taken the approach that they have, and they're not overly concerned, I'm certainly not going to be. I also believe that Sean McVay thinks this is a very real Super Bowl contending football team that is thinking about playing late into January, early February, more than we have to have everything perfect for week one.
Let me say this, that if there were a game today, if their season opened today,
He'd play.
Matthew Stafford would play. And I think Alaric Jackson at left tackle would be out there. And having been in that building with the Rams last week, I got nothing but optimism about Matthew Stafford and even their left tackle. They were very calm about the whole thing.
I have no question he's going to play, but Cincinnati is 1-11 in their last 12 games in September. That has cost them the playoffs. And if the Rams start off slow, you look back and do the autopsy and say, like, would a few more reps in the preseason made the difference?
No.
We don't know yet.
No, the answer is no.
With this team, I think I'm less concerned about that part of it than I would be about the long-term him holding up part of it. Because, take it from someone who has been that age and is now much older than that, your back rarely feels better. Yeah. Like, as time goes on, it doesn't get better. It generally tends to get worse. All right, it's time now for sometimes we do a feature called Greeny Insists. We talk about golf. Well, this morning in our meeting, Schfter insisted we talk about kickers. For you, what was the moment of this weekend?
Cam Little kicking a 70-yard field goal in Jacksonville in the dense, humid air there. This was not at altitude in Denver. This was in Jacksonville. And if it were in the regular season, it would have shattered the 66-yard field goal that Justin Tucker kicked for the Baltimore Ravens. Let me say this. In my 35-plus years of covering football, there have been only a handful of moments where I've stood up in the press box and violated the code where you can't make any noise in the press box. One of them was when the Broncos kicker Jason Elam kicked a 63-yard field goal at the end of half. I believe it was against Jacksonville, if my memory serves me correct. And I stood up and I went, whoa, that was 63 in Denver. This was 70 in Jacksonville. That is unbelievable. We've never seen that before in a game.
And what's even more impressive is it's probably good from 72 or 73. It clears the crossbar by several yards.
In case you're wondering, it does not count as the record, by the way, because it happens in the preseason. It is not the NFL record at this point, but it is still a remarkable thing, Dan. And to his point, we see these long kicks sometimes in the altitude in Colorado. Not so much. I think Jacksonville is 16 feet above sea level.
Yeah, I'm more interested in Travis Hunter.
We'll get to Travis Hunter. Oh, we'll get to him. I promise we will get to him. And by the way, if they're going to be 70-yard field goals, those are going to have fantasy implications. Tonight we kick off our